My name is Callista Rowan, and if you've ever wondered what betrayal sounds like, I can tell you exactly when mine happened. It was a Tuesday afternoon in Nashville, the kind of day where the heat hangs thick over the pavement and the entire city feels like it's exhaling. I was sitting in my car outside my mom's house, rehearsing what I thought would be just another routine family visit. Instead, it became the moment everything I thought I knew about my family cracked open. I walked through the front door and heard laughter drifting from the kitchen, my sister Lennon and my mom. For a second, it felt normal, familiar, safe. Then I heard his voice. A voice I never thought I'd hear again in this house. Miles, my ex-boyfriend. The man who had cheated on me 3 years ago. And worse, the man who had cheated with my own sister. My breath caught in my throat. My hands went numb. I froze in the hallway, half hidden by the archway, my pulse thundering in my ears. I heard Lennon say, "I can't wait to show Callista the ring. She's gonna freak out. Like, in a good way." Good way, my blood turned to ice. Miles's low chuckle followed. "It'll be fine. We agreed we'd tell her the real story this time." The real story? My heart dropped, heavy and sinking, because I already knew where this was going. For 3 years, I had lived with the shame of being painted as dramatic, overreacting, the unstable sister who couldn't handle a breakup. The one who imagined that Lennon and Miles were too close. Except I hadn't imagined anything. I had walked in on them. And now they were rewriting history. I stepped into the kitchen doorway. The room fell silent. Lennon's face lit up. Too bright, too sweet, too rehearsed. Miles stiffened, his smile tightening. "Callista," Lennon chirped. "We were just talking about you." "Clearly," I said, my voice cold and steady even though my heart was racing. "So what's the big news?" Lennon lifted her hand, showing a diamond ring big enough to blind an unsuspecting bystander. "We're engaged!" It felt like someone punched me straight in the chest. My stomach twisted. I tasted something metallic at the back of my throat. Anger or heartbreak, I couldn't tell. I kept my expression neutral because I refused to give either of them the satisfaction of seeing me crumble. "Wow," I said softly. "Congratulations." Lennon rushed toward me, hugging me before I could step back. Her perfume, vanilla and something floral, wrapped around me, making me want to choke. "We know it's complicated," she said, pulling away. "But we hope we can all move forward. We were young back then. And honestly, Callista, you weren't in the best place emotionally. I think that's why things got confused." There it was. The rewritten narrative. The erasure of what actually happened. I felt heat rise to my cheeks. Not embarrassment, but fury. "That's not what happened, Lennon." She blinked, playing innocent. "It's what Miles and I remember." Miles stepped forward, placing a hand on her back, like he needed to stake his claim on the lie. "Callista, we don't want any drama. Let's just accept that the past is the past." Something in me snapped. "No," I said quietly. "I don't think I can accept that." Their smiles faltered, because they knew that I was never the type to let something this vile slide. But they also believed I had no proof, that I had nothing but my word against theirs. They had no idea how wrong they were. I took a shaky breath and forced my voice into something polite, calm, almost eerie in its composure. "So, when's the engagement dinner?" Mom, who had been frozen in place this entire time, finally spoke. "This Saturday. We'd love for you to come, honey. It would mean a lot." "Oh, I'll be there," I said. And I meant every syllable. Because in that instant, a seed of something dark, sharp, and electric formed inside me. A plan. For years I'd buried the receipts, literal and metaphorical. Screenshots, call logs, time-stamped messages, even the voice memo from the night I found them together, because Miles had actually said the words, "We'll tell her she overreacted." I had recorded it out of self-defense, back when my heart was trying to believe the truth instead of the lies they spun afterward. I had buried it all because I wanted peace. But peace is impossible when someone is actively trying to rewrite your life. So I went home that night, opened the laptop I hadn't touched in months, and clicked on a folder titled Rowan Truth Vault. Everything was still there. Everything. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. Not from pain this time, but from awakening. I whispered the words aloud just to hear how they sounded. They're getting married, and they expect me to smile. That was when something inside me hardened into steel. They wanted to rewrite the story? Fine. I would rewrite it too, except I would use the truth. As I sifted through years of evidence, I decided my revenge would be poetic, simple, devastating. A slideshow, played in front of the entire Rowan family during the engagement dinner. Let them see the real timeline, the real messages, the real betrayal. Let Lennon and Miles choke on the truth they tried to bury. But as I organized the files, I came across something. Something I had forgotten existed. Something I hadn't seen since the night everything blew apart. And when I clicked it open, my breath caught in my throat. It changed everything. The file I opened wasn't a screenshot. It wasn't a message. It wasn't even the voice memo I remembered recording. It was a video. A video I didn't remember taking. My stomach tightened as the screen flickered to life. The camera seemed to be pointed at the living room of my old apartment. Dim lighting, shadows stretching across the floor. The angle was slightly tilted, as if my phone had been propped against the couch without me noticing. Then I saw myself walk into the frame. You never expect to see your past self appear like a ghost, especially during the worst moment of your life. The version of me on the screen looked tired, pale, and brittle around the edges. She held her phone in one hand, gripping it like a lifeline. And behind her, slightly out of focus, stood Miles. The memory surged back instantly, hitting me like a freight train. That night. The night I confronted him about cheating. The night he tried to convince me I was imagining things. But I had no memory of a video. I watched, breath shallow. Video me said, "Miles, I know about you and Lennon. I saw the messages." Miles's expression flashed irritation, then softened into faux concern. "Callista, you really need to calm down. You twist things when you're emotional. Let's talk when you're thinking clearly." Hearing his voice years later made my skin crawl. Then Video Me said something I didn't expect. "Fine, I saved everything, and I'm telling her." Miles stepped closer, too close. He lowered his voice, but the microphone caught every word. "You won't tell her anything, because nobody believes you when you get like this. You push people away, Callista. And your sister? She thinks you're unstable. She feels sorry for you." My jaw tightened as I watched. The cruelty in his tone was nothing new, but seeing it preserved, undeniable, that was new. Video Me's hands trembled. "I'm not unstable. You are," he interrupted sharply. "And even if you tell her, she'll choose me. She already has." That line, that single line felt like the hand of my past self reaching through the screen and squeezing my heart. But then something shocking happened. I heard another voice off-screen, a voice I instantly recognized. Lennon. She stepped into the frame, wearing one of my sweaters like it belonged to her. She looked between us and said, "Well, did you tell her yet?" I paused the video, breath frozen in my chest. Lennon was there, in my apartment, that night. I remembered confronting Miles, but I didn't remember Lennon being there. Not like this. Not in the middle of it. My pulse hammered as I pressed play again. Miles exhaled, annoyed. She won't let it go. Lennon rolled her eyes. My sister, the girl I once shared secrets with, rolled her eyes at my pain. "Callista," she said, "you're blowing this out of proportion. The messages weren't even that serious." Video Me looked shattered. "You were flirting with my boyfriend." "Ex," Lennon corrected sharply. "Let's not rewrite the timeline." My hands curled into fists. That lie, that exact lie, was the one she repeated for years. He and I weren't together. They were already breaking up. It wasn't cheating. Callista misunderstood. But here it was, unedited, unfiltered. the raw truth. The video ended with my past self crying alone in the frame as Miles and Lennon walked out together. Their whispers picked up just before the door closed. She'll get over it. She always does. She's too emotional. I shut my laptop. My entire body trembled. Not from sadness, but from a cold, razor-sharp anger that pulsed in my bones. They had erased the truth for so long that even I had begun to question my memory. And here was proof. They knew what they did. They mocked me for it. They enjoyed the power. And now they wanted to waltz into a family engagement dinner and pin ribbons over that wound? No, not anymore. I opened a new folder titled Engagement Night Bombshell. One by one, I dragged evidence into it. Screenshots, messages, call logs, bank statements from the day Miles borrowed money and never returned it. And now this video. My slideshow wasn't going to be a simple reveal. It was going to be a reckoning. But revenge isn't just about evidence. It's about timing, presentation, impact. So I began planning the night itself. The venue was a small event hall in Nashville, rented by my mother, decorated with soft florals and antique lanterns. Lennon wanted rustic chic. I wanted the truth projected on a 12-foot screen. My role was simple: arrive quietly, smile politely, blend in. And when everyone sat down for the engagement toast, I would cue the slideshow. But before that night came, something unexpected happened. 2 days before the dinner, as I walked from my car to my apartment, I noticed someone sitting on the stairs outside my door. It was Eden, my cousin, the only family member who had ever believed me back then. She stood up quickly. "Callista, I need to talk to you." I blinked. "About what?" She glanced around nervously. "About the engagement. About Lennon. And about something she said at the bridal boutique." My pulse quickened. "What did she say?" Eden swallowed hard. "She said, she's not just rewriting the past anymore. She's planning something for the dinner. Something about making sure everyone knows the truth about you." A chill ran down my spine. "What truth?" I whispered. Eden hesitated. "She said she has something that will ruin you before you can ruin her." My stomach twisted violently. Lennon wasn't just hiding her betrayal. She was preparing her own attack. The ground suddenly felt unsteady beneath me. Having evidence was one thing, but if Lennon had something that could be twisted, faked, or manipulated, I felt the first flicker of doubt. What if she really was planning something big? What if she had created her own narrative, one convincing enough to turn the family against me? I steadied myself, exhaling slowly. No, I had truth on my side. But as Eden looked at me, wide-eyed and worried, one terrifying question formed in my mind. What exactly does Lennon think she has on me? Eden's warning sat in my mind like a thorn that refused to come loose. For hours after she left, I paced circles through my apartment, replaying her words on a loop. She has something that will ruin you. She said the truth always surfaces. She looked confident, Callista. Scary confident. That part bothered me the most. Because Lennon wasn't stupid. Cruel, manipulative, self-serving, yes, but not stupid. If she believed she had something powerful enough to destroy me, she must have been holding on to it for years. But what? The only person who knew my worst secrets was me. And maybe one other person. A chill crawled up my arms. No, she couldn't possibly still have that. I had deleted everything, every message, every trace, every reminder. But doubt seeped through me like ink dropped into water. I sat on my couch, staring at the floor as memories tried to rise. Memories I normally kept locked behind a door I never opened. But tonight, that door creaked. 3 years ago wasn't just the year I lost Miles and Lennon. It was also the year I hit my lowest point. Emotionally, financially, mentally. A year where I made mistakes I swore I'd bury forever. But there was one mistake bigger than the rest. And if Lennon somehow had proof of that, my stomach twisted. Maybe Eden was right to warn me. I opened my laptop again and scrolled through old folders, trying to reassure myself nothing compromising still existed. Everything was clean, organized, safe. So what was Lennon holding? I needed answers, and there was only one place to find them: my childhood home. The Rowan family house in Nashville had once felt warm to me. Creaking wooden floors, cinnamon candles burning year-round, photos lining the walls from every birthday, graduation, and holiday we ever shared. Now, every time I walked inside, I felt like I was stepping into a curated museum of lies. But if Lennon had something stored here, if she hid it somewhere only she had access to, I had to look. So that night, I drove across the city. The sky was already dark, the air thick with that humid Tennessee heaviness. I parked down the street, avoiding the driveway camera Mom installed last year. The house was quiet when I slipped my key into the back door. Mom was out of town, thank God, and Lennon wouldn't show up until the engagement weekend. I hoped. I walked carefully, the wooden planks groaning under my weight. The living room still looked the same. Plush beige couch, framed family portraits, Mom's endless parade of decorative pillows. The silence was suffocating. I went upstairs to Lennon's old bedroom. Pink walls, white desk, a vanity overflowing with makeup she never took with her. Typical Lennon, leave the mess, leave the responsibility. I started searching, drawers, boxes, photo albums. Nothing. Frustration gnawed at me. I sat on her bed, hands knotted, staring at the floral comforter like it held answers. What are you hiding, Lennon? Just then, my eyes shifted to something I'd always ignored. A small air vent near the top of her wall, painted the same color as the room, but slightly newer, slightly shinier. Suspicious. I dragged the desk chair under it and climbed up. The vent screws were loose. Someone had opened it recently. My pulse thundered as I removed the cover and reached inside. My fingers brushed against plastic. A bag. A Ziploc bag. And inside, a phone. My breath hitched. Not my phone, not Mom's, not Lennon's current one. A phone from years ago. A phone I recognized. Miles's old phone. I nearly dropped it. What the hell was Lennon doing with his phone? I climbed down, locked the door, and sat on the floor with the phone trembling in my hands. If the device still turned on, maybe this was what Eden had warned me about. Maybe this phone held whatever truth Lennon planned to weaponize. Or maybe it held the truth she didn't want anyone to see. I pressed the power button. The screen lit up. My whole body went cold. There were only 2 apps on the home screen: messages and photos. Everything else had been wiped clean. Fear and curiosity tangled inside me as I opened messages. Most threads were deleted except for one. The contact name, Lennon. My gut twisted. I opened the thread. The messages weren't flirty. They weren't harmless. They weren't anything like the innocent misunderstandings she always described. They were calculated, scheming, downright malicious. Lennon, you need to push her harder. She can't break up with you yet. Not until I'm ready. Miles, she's already suspicious. Lennon, then make her look unstable. You're good at that. She'll believe whatever you imply. My throat tightened. More messages. Lennon, when she explodes, that's when we tell Mom she's having emotional problems again. They always take my side. Miles, you said you'd tell her soon. Lennon, I will. After she embarrasses herself. And then the worst one. Lennon, she deserves it. She's been the favorite for too long. My vision blurred with rage. I scrolled more. There were messages the night they walked out together. The same night captured in my video. Lennon, did she cry? Miles, yeah. Lennon, good. Maybe now she'll learn she's not the center of the universe. My heart pounded so hard it echoed in my ears. This wasn't just betrayal. This was cruelty. Premeditated, deliberate cruelty, from the person I grew up sharing a room with. The person who used to braid my hair. The person who promised we'd always protect each other. I sat frozen, staring at their words, feeling something inside me fracture and reform into something colder, stronger, sharper. But then I noticed something. A final message, unread, sent just last week. Lennon, don't forget what's on the phone. If she tries anything at the dinner, we'll show everyone. She won't recover from it. My veins iced over. What was on this phone? I backed out of messages and opened photos. There were 3 albums. 2 were empty. The third was titled, Callista Proof. My fingers trembled as I tapped it. Inside was a single video thumbnail, and the face frozen on the screen was mine. My heart stopped. What did they record? And how bad was it? For a full minute, I just stared at the thumbnail of my own face on Miles's old phone. My expression in the image wasn't angry or crying or caught mid-shout. It was worse. I looked lost, eyes unfocused, jaw slack, like someone who had reached the end of herself. What had I been doing in this video? What had they captured? My thumb hovered over the screen before finally tapping the play button. The video opened with shaky motion, like someone holding the phone from across the room, recording secretly. The lighting was dim, the audio muffled. And then I saw myself walk into frame, hair messy, makeup smudged, wearing the oversized sweatshirt I used to sleep in on my worst days. The timestamp hit me first. 3 years ago, the week after the breakup, the week after I recorded the confrontation video, my heart squeezed. This was the time of my life I tried hardest to forget. Video me paced the living room, phone in hand, breathing fast. I can't believe this, I muttered in the recording. I can't believe they're doing this to me. My voice was shaking, raw, exhausted. The voice of someone drowning and trying to call for help at the same time. Then I said something that made my real-time self sit straighter. I shouldn't have taken all those pills. That was stupid. So stupid. My blood ran cold. No, 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 no. There it is, I whispered under my breath. That's what they're holding. Video me continued pacing, unaware of being recorded. It was just one night, she said. I just wanted the pain to stop for a little while. I didn't even take that many. I wasn't thinking. I shut my eyes. My worst night, my lowest moment. A moment I never told anyone except Miles. Because at the time, I still trusted him. I thought he cared. I thought he wanted to help me get through the heartbreak. Instead, he recorded me. And Lennon kept the phone. My hands shook as Video Me sank to the floor, hugging herself. I'm fine now, she whispered. I swear I'm fine. I don't want to die. I just wanted everything to stop spinning for a while. Why does nobody believe me? I felt tears burning behind my eyes. Not because of shame, but because of the cruelty of it all. They kept this? For what? For leverage? The video ended abruptly, as if the phone's storage had filled. I stared at the blank screen, feeling 1,000 things at once. Anger, grief, disgust, betrayal. But above it all, one feeling stood stronger than the rest. Resolve. They weren't just trying to bury my truth. They were prepared to weaponize my lowest moment to humiliate me in front of our entire family. They wanted to paint me as unstable, dramatic, emotionally explosive, someone unworthy of being believed. And they thought this video would do it. Maybe once, years ago, it could have. But not now. Not anymore. I wiped my eyes, inhaled deeply, and opened a new document on my laptop. My slideshow needed more than screenshots now. It needed context. It needed truth. It needed the whole picture, not the distorted version Lennon planned to weaponize. So I wrote. I wrote about that night. About how lost I felt. About how I reached out for help and was betrayed in return. About how healing isn't linear and pain doesn't make someone unreliable. It makes them human. I wrote the truth not for Lennon, not for Miles, not even for my family. I wrote it for me. When I finished, it felt like breathing clean air for the first time in years. But I still had a problem. If Lennon had this video, she might have backups. She might have sent it to someone. She might have her own version prepared for the engagement dinner. I needed to be a step ahead. So I called Eden. She picked up on the first ring. Callista, what happened? I found what she has, I said. And it's worse than I thought. Eden exhaled. Do you want me to come over? No, I said. I need you at the dinner. I need someone there who knows the truth so that if she tries anything, you can help stop the narrative from twisting. I will, she said firmly. You're not alone in this. For the first time in a long time, I believed it. The day of the engagement dinner arrived quicker than I expected. The event hall was glowing with string lights and soft candles, decorated like a Pinterest wedding board. Rustic wood tables, wildflowers in mason jars, handwritten name cards. The Rowan family was already gathering when I walked in, holding a small bag with my laptop and Miles's phone inside. I felt gazes turn toward me, some warm, some curious, some pitying. But I walked with my head held high. Lennon spotted me across the room, and her smile tightened into something smug. She approached, her engagement ring catching the warm lights. Callista, you made it. I'm honestly surprised. I said I'd be here, I replied calmly. Wouldn't miss it. Her eyes flickered with something sharp. Control, anticipation, maybe even triumph. Because she thought she held the upper hand. Miles slithered up beside her, sipping champagne. Good to see you, he said, voice smooth as ever. I nodded once. Likewise. Inside, my pulse was steady. Not frantic, not panicked. Focused. Mom walked over next, beaming. Dinner will start in about 10 minutes. I'm so glad you're all together. Lennon looped her arm through Miles's, glowing with performative affection. Can't wait, she said. We actually have something special planned. I turned my head slowly. Oh, I asked. What kind of special? Lennon smiled, a predator dressed in pastel pink. You'll see. And in that moment, as she walked away, my heartbeat grew heavier. Not with fear, but with confirmation. She was planning something, which meant the showdown was no longer a possibility. It was inevitable. But as I stood there, gripping my laptop bag, I suddenly felt a presence at my side. Eden leaned in and whispered, Callista, look. She tilted her head toward the entrance. My breath caught, because standing there was someone I never thought would show up tonight. Someone who could change everything. The moment I turned toward the entrance, the entire room seemed to hush. Soft conversations dimming into a low murmur, forks pausing midair. Even the string light glow feeling suddenly sharper, because standing at the doorway was my father. I hadn't seen him in 9 years, not since he packed his bags, promised he'd call, and disappeared into a life without us. Without me. My breath caught, shallow, sharp, painful. Dad looked older now, grayer hair, deeper lines around his eyes, a posture that used to feel confident but now looked uncertain, almost hesitant. But there he was, at Lennon's engagement party. He scanned the room until his eyes landed on me, and in that instant, I felt 11 years old again, waiting on the porch for a dad who never showed up. Eden whispered, Callista, did you know he was coming? I shook my head. No, not at all. Lennon, of course, glowed like she'd orchestrated the whole thing. She rushed toward him, arms wide, acting like they'd been close for years. Dad, you made it! Dad hugged her stiffly, his eyes flicking toward me again. Guilty, unsure, maybe even afraid of my reaction. I stood frozen, shock locking my muscles in place. I barely had time to process before Mom hurried over, flustered and smiling too brightly. Girls, your father wanted to surprise you. Surprise. Right. That was one word for it. Another word was distraction. Because if Lennon invited Dad, without telling me, it wasn't for reconciliation. It was strategy. She wanted the emotional playing field uneven. She wanted me off balance. She wanted every variable possible to tilt in her direction. Dad's presence wasn't a coincidence. It was a weapon. He approached me slowly. Callista. My name sounded foreign on his tongue. I swallowed hard. Hi. He wet his lips, eyes darting to the floor and back. You look grown. I gave a single dry laugh. That tends to happen over a decade. He flinched, and for a brief second, guilt washed across his face so raw I almost stepped backward. Lennon inserted herself between us with a sugary smile. Dad flew all this way. For us. Isn't that wonderful? She squeezed his arm as if claiming him. Dad cleared his throat. I wanted to see both my daughters. But there was something off in his gaze, weighted, conflicted. He wasn't just here for Lennon. He was here because someone asked him to be. And I already knew who. Lennon placed a hand on his back and guided him toward the front of the room. Come on, Dad. Let's sit you near the projector. We're doing a little presentation later. My heart seized. Presentation. So this was her move. She planned to show her video first. She wanted to crush me in front of Dad, before I had a chance to speak. She wanted him to see my lowest moment and believe I was unstable. She wanted to rewrite the same narrative she'd been crafting for years. And it would work too, because Dad didn't know me anymore. He didn't know the woman who rebuilt herself. He only knew the daughter he left behind. The one who cried easily, who broke easily, who trusted too easily. He would believe whatever story Lennon fed him. Unless I took back control. Eden touched my shoulder. Callista, are you okay? No, I whispered. But I will be. Because if Lennon thought she could blindside me with emotional warfare, she underestimated the one thing betrayal had taught me: how to stand my ground. Dinner began, though I barely tasted anything. My mind spun with calculations, scenarios, countermoves. Dad sat beside Lennon at the head table, occasionally glancing my way, expression heavy with something between regret and confusion. The projector sat ready on a small platform, waiting for one of us to make the first strike. Finally, Mom stood and clinked her glass. Everyone, thank you for being here. Before dessert, the happy couple has prepared a short presentation. My pulse pounded. This was it. Lennon practically floated to the microphone. Thank you, Mom. So, we wanted to share something meaningful tonight. Something that shows what Miles and I have been through together, and how far we've come as a family. She shot a pointed glance at me, a sharp, deliberate dagger of implication. Eden whispered, "She's starting." Lennon gestured to Miles, who smirked as he connected his phone to the projector. A loading screen appeared. Preparing video. My heartbeat thundered. Then, Dad stood up abruptly. Everyone turned. He cleared his throat, voice unsteady. Lennon, sweetheart, before you play anything, I think it would be fair to hear from both of my daughters tonight. Not just one. A stunned hush fell over the room. Lennon blinked, smile cracking. Dad, it is about both of you, he said firmly, for the first time sounding like the father I remembered. I think Callista deserves to speak too. The room shifted, subtly but powerfully. For the first time tonight, the balance tipped away from Lennon. She stiffened. Dad, with all due respect, you don't know everything that happened. He met her gaze with something haunted. No, I don't. And that is exactly why both sides should be heard. My chest tightened. Dad was defending me? After 9 years? After all this time? Lennon's eye twitched, a tiny fracture in her perfect performance. She recovered quickly. Okay, fine. Callista can speak after we show our video. Her emphasis on after sent a shiver down my spine. Because she wanted her narrative cemented first. She wanted the damage done before I had the chance to counter it. But Dad shook his head. No, I want to hear her now. Lennon's breath hitched. Miles stepped forward. Sir, with all respect, Dad snapped. Sit down. Miles froze. The room held its breath. Slowly, Dad turned toward me. Callista, do you want to speak? My throat felt tight, but I lifted my chin. Yes, I do. Lennon's face blanched, a pale, flickering panic. But before I stepped forward, before I opened my bag, Dad whispered something quietly to me, so softly no one else could hear. Callista, I didn't just come because Lennon invited me. I came because I found something in her messages. Something you need to know. My heart stopped. What did you see? I whispered. He hesitated, then said, Callista, she's planning more than just a video.